I'm Michael Beebe. I'm the CEO of Dstillery, and I'm here today to talk to you about what we believe is a paradigm shift that we're bringing to programmatic targeting at Dstillery. For those of you who don't know Dstillery, we are a leading AI targeting company in the United States. Our technology powers campaigns for some of the largest agencies on the planet on behalf of some of the largest brands on the planet. And we are famous for our data science, which has been the heart of Dstillery's technology and identity for over a decade. We have 24 patents, and we regularly win awards, and you can see some of them here, for the quality of our data science and the quality of our technology solutions. We recently won the Best Privacy Technology from AdExchanger in 2024, which is relevant to what I'm here to talk to you about today, which is the fact that we all know how cookies help you reach your audience in programmatic advertising by tracking users and then identifying the users that are in market or showing intent for the thing that you're trying to sell to them. So how do you reach users when user tracking is not available to you? Dstillery set out to answer this question in 2018, and the answer that we came up with is we use AI to predict the website visits or digital behaviors that are most indicative of your audience's behavior and the most likely to reach your customer without knowing anything at all about them. This is what we refer to as a new paradigm for privacy-first behavioral targeting. So our ID-free technology is the only behavioral targeting solution, we believe, that does not use some form of identity. It is a behavioral solution that is delivered via an inventory model, which means that there's no user tracking whatsoever. That means that it's GDPR compliant by design, and the best part is that activation is easy and flexible. And I see the translation between Google Slides and PowerPoint was a little off here, a little cockeyed. One of the useful ways that we describe ID-free metaphorically is in the context of how we all have come to know how ChatGPT works, which is that ChatGPT understands what words mean based on how they're used in a sentence. That's how the ChatGPT model is trained. The way that Dstillery trains our ID-free models is that we understand how website visits or digital behaviors are used in customer journeys. So it's a very similar technology at its core to ChatGPT. In fact, the P stands for pre-train is exactly what we do with ID-free. We use research panels, not live trackable users, but research panels. Think of panels like a Nielsen, commercially available Nielsen digital panel that capture millions of digital journey patterns for users associated with online behaviors. And we're able to understand how every website visit is used in real life relative to every other digital behavior that we see. So it's a 128-dimensional embedding space that allows us to understand the behavioral intent of a visit to a website. With that understanding and with a brand's seed data, so with something that the brand has that identifies the relevant behavior that they are trying to target, we're able to predict the real-life impressions that are most indicative of the people who perform the desired outcome. The model ranks and scores every impression, scoring the impressions that are most indicative of a brand's customers the highest, and predicting the next best impression for the brand's campaign. And I think it's just important to note that relative to maybe some of the contextual solutions that you've seen here earlier today, this is radically different because this is translating behavioral signal into contextual space, understanding the meaning of a visit to a website without knowing anything at all about what is on that page in terms of content. So ID-free targeting performs. We've been doing this since 2021 in the United States. This is a slide that shows performance across a variety of different categories. The bright blue bar is the cost per action represented by our ID-free technology. So lower is better because this is a cost per measurement. The light blue bar in the middle is cookie-based targeting solutions in the US. So you can see that in general, the ID-free efficiency is similar to that of a solution where you know a lot about the user who's seeing the ad. And relative to the gray bar, which we think of as the next best identity-free solution, which is content-based contextual, it consistently performs better up to 75%. So there are 3 ways to activate it. Very quickly, we could use predictive contextual. We're here actually today to talk about the fact that we have launched a pre-built taxonomy, specifically built for the UK in both the Trade Desk and AppNexus. Microsoft Advertising, Xandr, whatever we're calling it these days. You can activate it via curation in respect of the SEBS panel earlier, and we also offer it via custom bidding algos via predictive bidding. And again, this is the big news, and the thing that I wanted to share with you all today is that we have launched a UK taxonomy of 186 common behaviors for the UK, now available in the Trade Desk and Microsoft Advertising's contextual marketplaces. It is GDPR compliant behavioral targeting available via context. And you can see some of the categories here: auto, travel, retail, health and wellness, financial services, and more that we cover. And custom modeling is available as well. So if any of you would like to access it on your own, self-serve, you can access it via the platforms that I spoke about, or we can build a custom model for you, usually turned around in 48 hours. So that is my hopefully quick overview of Dstillery's ID-free and predictive contextual solution for the UK.
That's amazing, thank you. There's brilliant context there for some more questions. I think you've kind of covered the first one that I'm going to ask you, but just let's touch on it really quickly. So predictive contextual product that you're launching in the UK, how does it differ from other cookieless and contextual solutions? Yeah. You've talked about behavioral. I think we're there. But
and that is the core, and I think that that's really what we are, what we hope you all take away, is that there are ways to connect behavioral data to inventory data without knowing anything at all about the content. So this is the thing that's really differentiated, we think, about what we're doing is it's a behavioral expression of targeting without any user tracking at all. And that's, it is GDPR compliant kind of by design in the sense that there's no user consent required if you're not tracking users.
So who are you hoping to attract in the UK? Like, so much work here is done specifically for this territory and this market. Yeah. So who are you hoping to attract, and what's your primary target audience? They may be in the room.
Yeah, we typically work mostly with media agencies, programmatic media agencies. We work both with the very largest holdco programmatic media agencies as well as independent media agencies. We also work with brands who execute in-house, and we're hoping to reach some folks here who are either hands-on keyboard or have agencies who are hands-on keyboard on their behalf, or who run teams that are hands-on keyboard, and get them to experiment with this new, easy-to-access, publicly available taxonomy on some of the biggest platforms.
So how do they do that? There's a media agency sitting in here right now and they want to know how to activate this solution with you. How do they go about it? On
the Trade Desk or Microsoft Advertising, you can go to their contextual marketplaces, click through to Dstillery, and access the UK segments, 186 segments in each marketplace.
Okay. Fairly easy
Straightforward.
Answer. Yeah. So you've talked a bit there about how everything has been GDPR compliant by design, which is great. Can you share a little bit more about the steps you've been taken to ensure that compliance? Because obviously it's an incredibly important bit of legislation. So how does the approach you've taken benefit the advertisers? Because that regulation is just so... Yeah. I mean, I was going to use the word restrictive, but I'm not sure that's the right thing to say, but it may feel like it.
When we developed ID-Free in 2018, our data science team was trying to address the question of how can we target users programmatically if they don't want to be tracked, right? And a lot of the solutions that, for alternative identity in particular, that are in market today, that are cookie alternatives, are simply finding a new way to track that user, right? They're tracking that is either cleverly consented via a publisher, or it's probabilistic identity, which kind of is another word for fingerprinting in my mind at least. And so a lot of the solutions that are in market haven't really addressed the problem at face value, right? They've just, if the cookie's not available for tracking, we're going to find another way to track and then target the user. And in contrast, the way that our data science team, and by the way, we looked at doing exactly those same things, right? The solution that we developed addressed the problem at face value, which is how can we do effective behavioral targeting without any user tracking? And it's that without any user tracking that is the absolute GDPR compliance. It's probably a word my lawyer would tell me not to use as absolute. But in fact, the GDPR, the EU is aware of kind of our embeddings-based targeting solution and has indicated that it is compliant with GDPR. And so when we talk about that GDPR compliance, we're not saying, well, it's GDPR compliant because we're tracking users with their consent. We're saying it's GDPR compliant because we don't require consent, because there's no tracking at all. And the way we're able to do that kind of magic, again, goes back to AI, which is understanding a small sample. In the UK, we're using a panel of 300,000 folks, a couple of panels that aggregate to that number. Understanding the aggregate behaviors of that panel, looking at the customer journeys in a 128-dimensional embedding space, and extracting kind of the behavioral similarity of those digital behaviors in order to do targeting is completely outside of the scope of GDPR.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Probably a lot more sense to some experts in the room, but yes. I guess it's a similar question on the UK taxonomy that you talked about earlier as well. Can you talk to us about the work that went into developing that for this market as well? Sure.
We have been in market as a behavioral targeting company in the US for 20 years, nearly 20 years. And we have developed numerous taxonomies, behavioral taxonomies in the US over those years, and we applied that same kind of understanding of the market and what are the common behaviors that are of interest to marketers and brand advertisers in the programmatic ecosystem, and developed a very similar sort of first step taxonomy. We intend to grow upon the 186 common behaviors that we have today. But what really makes Dstillery kind of special and unique in my mind, and hopefully in the mind of many of our clients, is the fact that in addition to understanding the marketplace and being able to produce a relevant behavioral taxonomy, we can also do custom audience modeling at both scale and speed. And what I mean by that is to the extent that there's an advertiser who looks at our taxonomy, hopefully many of you do, and say, well, what I need isn't really here. We have the ability to understand your need, understand whatever seed data you're working with, and build a custom audience solution that we can deliver through those same contextual pipes. Or as a reminder, we can also deliver via curation or custom bidding algos, and we can turn that around typically within 48 hours. So we're able to build custom AI models really, really fast for turnaround and activation.
And that sounds really, really helpful. The speed at which, or the agility with which you can do that is great. We just have a few more seconds, so I'm going to give you one last question about, tell us a little bit about what your kind of future is. What's your aim for the UK market?
Our aim for the UK market is really it's the first step in our, hopefully, what we expect to be global expansion or global dominion over the world in the space of targeting. And the reason we've started in the UK and Europe in particular is that we believe that technology that I've described now, I think several times, I'm sorry, and it's GDPR compliance, and the fact that it combines privacy with both scale and performance means that it's got really, really strong product market fit for Europe in particular. And we hope to be able to demonstrate that, grow our business here in the UK, which is an extremely important media marketplace, but also to grow beyond the UK.
Well, we're happy to be the next step in that global expansion. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.